Welcome to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein, talking about the evolutionary, the revolutionary, the inspiration and the perspiration, and those aha moments that change everything. And now, here's your host, Rich Goldstein.
Rich Goldstein here, host of the Innovations and Breakthroughs podcast, where I feature top leaders and the path they took to create change. Past guests include Kevin King, James Thompson, and Roland Frazier. This episode is brought to you by my company, Goldstein Patent Law, where we help you to protect your ideas and products. We've advised and obtained patents for thousands of companies over the past 25 years. So if you're a company that has software, product, or design you want protected, go to goldsteinpatentlaw.com, where there are great free resources for learning about the patent process. And you can email my team at welcome@goldsteinpc.com to explore if it's a match to work together. You could also check out the book I wrote for the American Bar Association that explains in plain English how patents work. It's called the ABA Consumer Guide to Obtaining a Patent. I have here today Brandon Young. Brandon has been selling on Amazon since 2015. He successfully pivoted from doing online arbitrage and wholesale to then launching his own private label brands. And he splits his time between managing and growing his own online brands and also teaching other people how to successfully sell on Amazon. So welcome, Brandon. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Rich.
Great. So let's see. So we talk about pivots. And before we get into that, I guess let's talk about, you had a pretty big party planned for Las Vegas. And unfortunately, you needed to pivot away from that, correct?
Yeah, I'm still really sad about that.
That looked like it was going to be awesome. It's like the nicest rental penthouse in Las Vegas with an outdoor hot tub and I think 10,000 square feet of space or something along those lines.
Yeah, we were going to have up to 150 people on the rooftop penthouse of the Palms. Yeah. And it was costing me quite a bit to rent it, but I was going to rent it to do a workshop the day and then do the party at night. And it was all set to happen until it didn't.
Got it. So you're going to do a workshop. Was that for your course, or this was one of the mastermind groups that you run?
Yeah, this was a separate topic. We ended up doing it online. It was an 8-hour workshop on scaling your Amazon business from 7 to 8 figures. So it was for higher end sellers who wanted to learn about basically organizational charts, who to hire, when to hire, how to compensate, how to break out different parts of your business. And I had a guest speaker who was going to speak for half the time from China, who's one of the best consultants out of China. He consults with a lot of the large sellers there. So it was really interesting because he was going to teach from the Chinese organizational chart of how they do it. And then I was going to teach from how we're doing it on our end on the American side. And we have kind of a blended method. And, it ended up being a good masterclass. It's still available to replay, but it would have been great in person. I was super excited about it.
Yeah, well, most of the workshop stuff goes over my head, but the party sounded great. So I was looking forward to that. But yeah, I guess there'll be another time for that. But meanwhile, so you pivoted, and of course it's because of COVID and because of the notion of having a meeting in March, or a large scale meeting in March, just became crazy. And so, but at the same time though, you pivoted towards PPE. So do you want to talk a little bit about that and what you did there?
Yeah, it wasn't a long-term thing that we're doing. We basically saw that the response from the president was that every state and municipality and hospital was going to be on their own to source their own PPE. And I have enough experience. I have 9 employees now in China, and at the time, I think I had 7. I've hired a couple since then, but I have enough experience with sourcing in China and supply chain and logistics from China that I knew that was going to be a huge challenge for companies here. So I decided to get my team on it to validate the factories, to look at their certificates, to actually go knock on the door and travel around the country to make sure that the certificate address matched the address on the building and the name matched from the certificate to the building. Because what was happening, and you had every broker in China reaching out to everyone they've ever sold to in America saying, hey, I can get you masks. And then they were showing you certificates from one factory and then buying them from another. And then what would happen is your stuff would get seized in customs, and you would get knockoff masks that wouldn't protect the workers or wouldn't protect anyone. So we made sure that we had chain of custody. We made sure that we did everything. So we ended up bringing in over 1 million masks for orders. Put a website up for individual people, friends, family, people that I knew. I just put the word out there. And then I had a lot of wholesale orders for hospital chains and government agencies that needed supplies. And then we just met that demand. But that's not a business I'm going to stay in, I don't think.
No. But I mean, it was an appropriate business for the moment in order to take care of a new need that cropped up.
Yeah. Well, what was amazing is like I was charging a reasonable markup, like 20%, right? By the time, my team's time, the alternative cost of not developing new products, all that stuff, I was just like, okay, well, I'm not going to, I donated a lot of the profits too, like in the form of masks and other stuff, but I just had a small markup, and I'm selling stuff at $2 right, for a mask. At the same time, I'm looking at other websites charging $4, $6, $8 a mask.
Yep.
And I'm like, what, these people are going to end up in jail. They just don't realize. And sure enough, a task force was created. The attorney general was calling people. I got a call even at my price, because even at my price was higher than the normal price. And then he's like, how long have you been selling masks? Like, what was your previous price? And I said, well, I've never sold masks before. This is a brand new website we put up just for this. Right. And he said, oh, that's actually a great thing for you, because you have no price history to show that you've raised the price. So there's nothing I can do. So,
yeah. So, but there's nothing you should, and there's nothing he should do, because basically, the air freight prices just went through the roof.
Oh, it was insane.
So that in itself justifies that it's just a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, at one point I had to raise the prices a little bit, because like it went from the normal rate, it might be like 40 RMB per kilogram. So if I convert that to American speak, and then right. It's about $6 for every 2.2 pounds or whatever, and about $3 a pound. And the price went from that to 140 RMB, so more than triple the price for shipping, which means I was paying close to 40 cents a mask to bring it in, which, is astronomical. The normal price for these masks is, almost 40 cents.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So, I mean, in order to fulfill that need, you, in a sense, were in the right place at the right time by having the factory in China, but you're also in the wrong place at the wrong time, because you were there and you kind of came back in a rush and quarantined back. And was that in February, or that was in late January?
Yeah, that was late January. So we got out. Late February. Sorry, Chinese New Year.
Late January.
Yeah, late January then. Yeah, 28th, I think. 20. Yep. Yeah, right around then. So Chinese New Year, we were there to visit factories right before Chinese New Year. My wife is Chinese. So we were planning on getting some work done for a week or two before everything shut down, and then visiting family for Chinese New Year, traveling around the country a little bit. And we got to a point where the day Chinese New Year was supposed to happen, all the dinners, like every restaurant in the country is fully booked. Family gatherings, we flew into another city and then drove into the country to go visit like her grandparents, and we have a bunch of aunts, uncles, cousins all there. The government said all dinners and parties are officially canceled from this point forward. You're not to have public gatherings or anything, and the people abided. It was just like time to go. So the whole family just got in their cars and we drove back to the airport, flew back to Shenzhen where we have an apartment, and we just said, okay, what are we going to do? We're not supposed to leave for another week. And the whole country's shutting down while we're driving through Shenzhen, which is basically the Silicon Valley / San Francisco / New York of China. I mean, it's just a huge city. We're driving through and there's empty buses and no one on the street. And it was the most eerie thing, but everyone was just locked in their house. And this is when they only really had cases in that one province, and there were very few cases anywhere else. So I said, well, they're going to shut the country down because they were starting to have cases pop up in other countries. They're not going to let anyone leave China. And so I said, we need to go to Hong Kong, which is where we were supposed to be flying out. So we drove, I booked a private van to drive us across the border. And we stayed at the airport hotel for a few days while we were waiting for our flight. And sure enough, the day we flew out, they closed the border. We wouldn't have been able to get out of China.
Wow. And then you flew back to Miami and you self-quarantined for a couple of weeks and crossed your fingers, I guess.
Yeah, so we self-quarantined to make sure. Like, it was so weird because when we flew in from Hong Kong, we wore a mask the entire time. We get off the flight and there's no one checking us. There's nothing abnormal. We just came, basically from China, from Hong Kong, which, there's cases in Hong Kong. It's a huge area, and we're flying to DFW. And I'm like, where is the security? Where are they checking? They're not doing anything. And at that point, like, we didn't really know that it was 2 weeks before you start showing symptoms. Like, we didn't know any of that. Right. We just thought, like, you have a fever, you're sick, and they weren't checking anyone. So I was like, people could have been sick on our flight. We don't know. Mm-hmm. And then we fly into Miami again, nothing, no check, nothing. And I'm like, well, we're just going to have to go lock in ourselves in the house to make sure we don't get everyone in Miami sick. And so we did the responsible thing there, and we ended up not having it, luckily.
Yeah, exactly. And they found the way to get themselves sick, I guess.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But yeah, I mean, but it's good that you got out, and you've obviously have not been back to China since.
No, we haven't. Normally we go back a few times a year, and we're not going to go back this year. We've already, it's going to be 2021 at least until we're back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad that that all worked out okay, and just going back to what we were saying before, when you got here, you realized that there was a need for PPE, and you had people in China, so you worked it out, and you helped bring over, hundreds of thousands of masks at this point, right?
Yeah, quite a few, over 1 million units. We've moved, and I still have a warehouse with a few 100,000 units that we're just trickling and selling. Our site's still up. I still get orders. I'm selling it at cost or below cost now because the prices have come down, and right. I have inventory. So I'm just
was that Safety Light Store?
Yeah, safetylifestore.com. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so I've lowered the price significantly, and on larger orders, I'm just even selling it at a loss just to sell it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, I bought some KN95 masks right in the beginning when you started selling them, and I actually never even opened the package. Because
you still haven't even used them.
We've been home, and then once we've started going out, as we were wearing surgical masks because it was for the other purpose, not for for filtering. But it's interesting. I still have those. I still have that pack, like kind of waiting for the moment where hopefully things don't get that bad where you have to really worry about.
Well, if you're traveling at all, or if you're gonna be right. anywhere where other people are not wearing masks, then you need a KN95.
Right.
But if you're going to go out and everyone's being responsible and wearing a mask, then everyone's protecting everybody.
Yep.
And we were kind of talking about it earlier where it's like, well, the 3 plies are good enough, and they're going to stop the large droplets coming out, and everyone's going to be okay if they protect each other.
Right.
But you have a large percentage of this country that are saying that you don't need a mask and that it's a hoax. And maybe not in your area because people were directly impacted.
Everyone's wearing a mask here. Anyone goes into a store, everyone is wearing a mask. Masks are required. And
in the Northeast, where you guys got hit hard by the virus, you personally know people who have gotten sick, and so the reality of it. Where the problem is other parts of the country where it's not as apparent to people. They think that it didn't happen because it didn't happen to them.
Right. Exactly. And it's great to learn from other people's mistake or when other people are experiencing something. So hopefully, I hope that most people get the picture, and then that they're safe, that they act safely. So fingers crossed on that too.
Yeah.
But hey, let's talk about products. You've got a lot of experience in launching products, and so you started out by arbitrage, and also through Well, I mean, that was your main start, right? It was just buying and selling products,
Yeah,
and then.
we were doing wholesale in
Mhm.
tools. Previous business of family business was wholesale construction supplies.
Okay.
So I reached back out to like the old tool suppliers that from the family business, and I was buying and getting discounts and bulk packages and things like that, and then combining some discounts, and then able to make pretty good money doing that. But then some of the brands started to become gated at that time. So
Mhm.
I saw the writing on the wall that it wasn't going to be as sustainable.
Right. And so I guess you realize that it would pay to have your own brands that wouldn't get gated, and you'd actually be able to have some kind of exclusivity over it, or ability to stop other
Yeah,
people.
absolutely. So that was the biggest attraction to it was that we control and own the listing. We don't have to worry about any gating. And then with my wife being Chinese, we figured we had an advantage on the sourcing and the supply chain side. So that's why we went to China. We went to Canton in 2016, and then we launched our private label, our first brand, right shortly after.
Yeah. And you've done pretty well, and it's pretty amazing in e-commerce how fast things move. It's
Yeah.
like, you talk to someone who's like you, selling on Amazon since 2015, 2016, you're like, wow, old timer.
It
But
is.
yeah, so you've gotten to, I think I saw the Washington Post article that you were quoted in, the 10 million in sales, roughly. Not that the numbers matter so much, but it just shows that you've gotten to a certain level in just a few years. And what do you attribute that to? Like, what's kind of like the thing that makes it work when other people don't necessarily get it to work selling on
Yeah,
Amazon?
the biggest turning point for us was when I started doing keyword research and understanding keyword data better. So what I think the gap in a lot of the education that's out there and the free courses and then the highly paid and expensive courses that are out there is that they don't answer the simple question of how are my competitors getting their sales. So if you can understand that you have 10 top sellers that are getting sales, and the varying amount, one guy's getting 1,000 units a month, 30 a day or so, and the other guy's getting 25 a day, third guy's getting 20, and so on. Understanding how they're getting those sales, so which keywords are they ranked well on, what are the search volumes of those keywords, how many sales are being attributed to each of the keywords that they're ranked well on. Now you can start to understand and paint a picture of what is the real demand of this product. And so I always related it back to my education, my of basic economics, supply and demand. And it's like people searching for a product a certain number of times equals demand. Supply are the number of sellers on Amazon that are providing the products that are making sales there. But here's the gap. The gap is that there's no product where people search only one way. There are a lot of products where people are searching 20, 30, 50 different ways for the same product, where they add extra words. So like instead of just diaper caddy, it might be diaper holder, right? Or it might be felt diaper caddy, or diaper caddy for changing table, or portable diaper caddy, right? So all of these different keywords have certain number of search volume every month. What we learned when we started doing it, we learned the improper way, which was that you would analyze only one keyword. You would look at the sellers from that one keyword, and then you would try to determine whether you could beat those sellers based on their reviews, based on how good their listing looked. But you really know nothing about the demand of that product. You really know nothing about the supply of that product, because you're not looking at all of the potential keywords, and you're not looking at how saturated or how good the sellers that are currently selling the product are at ranking for all of those keywords.
Right.
And so the magic for us was understanding that we could look at 10 top sellers. We could put together what we call a master keyword list, which would give us basically 95% or more of all of the keywords that would generate sales for a product. And then we could look at the ranks on those keywords on the first page of those keywords of the top 10 sellers. And what we noticed is that we would see gaps. We would see that the top seller was only on 60 or 70% of them. And then the next seller was only on 50%. And the next seller was only on 40%. And so where they're not ranked well, it represented an opportunity for us to come in and rank for all of the keywords. So taking that research methodology to choose products that represented a lower risk with where we could beat the current competition based on how they're getting their sales, what the demand, the supply is, and then combining that with becoming really good at ranking and launching. And so the success rate of us choosing the right product and then launching the right product effectively, our success rate for our students and for us is much higher than the average.
Got it. So it's all in the data. It's all in the data.
Yeah.
It's all in analysis, competitive analysis.
100%. Yeah. It's so once you understand how to do the competitive analysis and rank a product, basically give it an opportunity score, give it a risk score. So is it low, medium, high risk, and how much opportunity is there? Basically, how many keywords there are that people are using to search. The more keywords, the better, because the odds are the people currently selling it aren't ranked on most of them because they might not be as good at Amazon as you. And so that represents more security, that represents a better opportunity, that represents lower risk. And so you can come in and do it better and then combine that with our ranking strategies to rank our products. And we do everything based on data, from PPC and launches to product selection to optimization. Everything is based on data and then our knowledge of Amazon's algorithm.
Great. And so now once you have something that you think is going to be a successful product based upon the data, how do you test it? Like how far do you typically get into down the pathway of a new niche before you?
That's it, man. I mean, so after qualifying the data, then we qualify the quality of the product, the packaging, and the supplier. We look at our competition, we order their products, we bring in samples from several factories, and we compare the two. We make sure that we can be competitive on quality. We see if there's any changes that we need to make based on the feedback of the competitors. So we'll look at their reviews and we'll see what's commonly breaking or commonly not covered. It could be as simple as just educating the buyers better with regards to better bullets and letting them know this is a little bit smaller than it looks in the picture, right? Just by doing a better image and then addressing the concern in the first bullet, you could avoid a lot of negative reviews. It could be that there's a piece that constantly breaks that you talk to the factory about. You need to improve this, and then they improve it. Now you're going to have a better rated product. So it's just a matter of qualifying. A lot of times we'll even repackage products. Like most of our products we package for e-commerce, which means we're putting into a smaller, more compact packaging. We're making sure that we're under certain thresholds as far as weight and size in order to get an advantage on our fulfillment fees so that we can pack in more profit than our competition. We're also sourcing more direct than our competition typically because we have ways to go straight to the factory. So we'll build in some extra profit there as well. And so all of those things combined are how we qualify the product. But the data, once we think the data looks good, then we just move straight into product development.
Got it. Okay. So it's a lot of non-sexy kind of like data analysis. And so as opposed to, I guess, people that hype it up like, Amazon, go to the Canton Fair and pick out some products and, like you're just going through data.
Yeah, this is really not as sexy and fun and incredible as a lot of the guys like to build it, or as easy. Right. This isn't a get-rich-quick business where you're just going to pick out a product like a scratch-off map and do it slightly better or give slightly more value, and then you're going to be able to compete. It's look at the real data of it, make the determination where you can improve, look at the information from your competitors, and dig into it. Like if you hate all of that, then this business might not be right for you. And I tell people all the time, they're like, well, I want to get rich. And I'm like, well, unless you it's going to be 3 to 4 months before that first product launches. First of all, you've got to dedicate to learning this business and learning how to look at the data, how to source, how to optimize, how to understand the algorithm, how to rank, how to launch. You've got 3 to 4 months of solid education that you need. And that's great because it takes you 3 to 4 months to find and develop a product and land it in Amazon's warehouse. Then you're not going to make enough profit on just one product usually for you to quit your job and replace your income. It might take several products. So now you've got to take that income that you're making from your products, and then you've got to reinvest it into more inventory and into new product launches. And so you're like, and then it snowballs from there. And the more capital you have, the more products you can launch, the faster you can grow business. Like we were lucky. We started our business with over 50,000 cash. We've invested over 150,000 into our business. But that's why we've been able to go from 1 to 3 to 6 to $12 million. And double basically. And so a lot of people might go much slower than that, but that's fine. You can start with $5,000, but if you're starting with $5,000, you're going to be a year or more before you can quit your job. Right. And you need that realistic expectation. And entrepreneurs and people in general have a very short attention span. And they want to have the freedom of e-commerce.
What did you say, Brandon? I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So, I mean, but entrepreneurs have a very short attention span, and they don't want to put in the work or the effort. And I don't want to call them lazy, but the next shiny object comes around, and they want to get rich quick, and they don't realize that the learning curve and the opportunity to make a ton of money in this business and build a real business is there, but they don't want to put in a year of work.
Right. And so you really want entrepreneurs to understand what they're getting into and have the real deal. And that's one of the things I appreciate about you, is that you are protective about entrepreneurs who are making that critical decision about getting started with selling online. Like you are protective of them. You want to make sure that they get the right information. That nobody BS's them into thinking that they're going to quit their job or that it's easy or any of that.
Yeah. And I've gotten in trouble for being pretty vocal about some of the courses and guys out there. I don't want to get into it on your podcast or throw any names around, but people charging $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for a course with a 5% success rate. And it's like, why are you not literally, why are you not in jail? Like 95% of your students come in and lose their money for the course, but then they get hurt. Their family gets hurt. They go into debt, and you'll take anyone into your course with a credit card and a pulse, and you won't hold them accountable. You won't qualify them. Look, like if I have my masterclass for $1, right? And it's 5 hours of our product selection. It's boring as shit. And you're going to go in there and you're going to watch that, and you're going to know whether this business is right for you. But more importantly, if it is right for you, you're going to know the right way to do the business. You're going to understand the difference between throwing darts at products and looking at data and choosing products. And then your success rate is going to go from 10% to 60 or 70%. And then you have a better chance. Even if you don't follow me or anything else I teach you, you have a much better chance of being successful. And that's all I care about.
Yep. And I really appreciate that approach. And, yeah, I mean, my business as well, it's tough because like most people that invent something and want to patent it, they're not going to be successful. And I want them to understand kind of what they're getting into so that, if they are going to go for the long shot, they know what they're doing and they know how to, they know the risk they're taking and they know how to go about it the best way possible. But absolutely. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, because
it can be a lot more expensive than people think it is, and what they're told from other people.
Yep.
It's like, no, sure, just give me this, $2,000-$3,000, and then you're done.
Right.
Well, that's usually not the case with what you do, and it's not the case with what we do. I mean,
yep.
You're gonna I try to paint a very realistic picture of the capital that you need to do this business. It's not something that you should put on a credit card or risk the health of your family.
Right. Exactly. I mean, if you're going to go in, you have to be all in, and you need to kind of know kind of what you're headed for. It's not going to be, like you said, a couple $1,000s and then you're done. It just doesn't work that way. But cool. So let's see. So what else should people know? Like, I guess if they're about to launch a product, like what do you think are the most important things for them to consider before they launch a new product?
So 100%, it's exactly what I was talking about, the supply and the demand of the product, how competitive you can be. So not only just understanding how the competitor is getting their sales and whether you think that your offer is going to be as good as the competition. So Amazon's ranking algorithm takes into account a few different things. It takes into account your click-through rate, your conversion rate, the relevancy, or the how relevant the keyword is, and how much revenue or sales you generate. So if you have a better conversion rate and a better click-through rate, and you're generating more sales than your competition on a keyword that makes sense for your product, you're going to outrank your competition. And then that equals, all of that together equals what's called a quality score. And that quality score determines basically where you belong on this keyword. And so people need to understand that it's not going to be as easy as looking at one keyword, making a decision on a product, and then ranking for that one product, because they also don't understand that the algorithm takes into account many different keywords for each keyword. So this is going to be a little complicated. I'm trying to explain it as easily as I can. And I'll give you the example of diaper caddy. If I make a sale, someone searches for diaper caddy and I sell my diaper caddy, that's great. It's 100% credit. But what I also got was credit for what I build into my listing, how, like, other keywords that I wrote into my listing. I get credit based on where those keywords are written into my listing. So knowing where to put keywords is important, and which keywords to put. Secondly, you get credit. The amount of credit you're given is based on the match type. So if I make a sale through diaper caddy, I will get 80% credit for diaper caddies, which is a plural form. Now, let's say I'll get 50% credit for gray diaper caddy, because that is a phrase match. It's in the same order, the keywords, but it's a longer tail keyword. It has an extra word in there. But then I'll only get 30% credit if it's in a different order. So if it's caddy diaper, for example. Knowing how you get credit, and then how every sale impacts every keyword, and then how to build your listing. That's that higher level stuff that the people don't understand when they're starting to figure out, okay, how do I launch this product? How do I build my listing? How do I do PPC properly?
Right.
That's the higher level stuff that you really need to know, that most people either don't know, that most of the people teaching this stuff don't know this.
Right. And I think you teach some higher level classes for more advanced sellers in those things, and in maximizing the PPC for launch, and in product selection and data analysis, et cetera. Right.
Yeah. We have, so I have 2 master classes, one on product selection, data analysis, that stuff. And then I have another one just on PPC. Mm-hmm. And then I have my Inner Circle Mastermind, which is more of a college level course. It's very hands-on. Every week I'm live. I do Ask Me Anything. And then every 2 to 3 weeks, we do a live deep dive into an actual class on a subject. And we're constantly updating the content, because we learn new things, and Amazon's always changing. The only constant in Amazon is that it's changing. So we need to keep the content fresh and updated, and we want our students to constantly have the latest information of what's working.
That's awesome. So then how can people learn more about you, or learn more about the courses that you have?
So we have a Facebook group, Seller Systems Succeeding on Amazon FBA. And then we have the masterclass, which is seller-systems.com/masterclass. Then we have the PPC masterclass, which is the same, seller-systems.com/PPC masterclass. And then we have the Inner Circle, which is seller-systems.com/Inner Circle. Basically, you can reach out to me also, DM me through Instagram or through Facebook. Join my group, ask a question. I'm always available, and I try to help as much as I can.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here, Brandon. I really appreciate this great information, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Yeah, hopefully, man. It'd be great to hang out again.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web at innovationsandbreakthroughs.com, and we'll see you next time.